Hey guys, I wanted to do a quick video on how to paracord your Intellimouse Pro. A couple people have been asking me for it. I've done it a bunch of times, so I figured this should be a quick and easy video. A lot of people think that this is harder than it is, so hopefully this video helps a little bit. You can see that this one's already paracorded. This is like one of the first or second paracords I made. It's a good cord. I've just gotten better paracord with better sheathing since then, and I just would like to change up the color scheme a little bit, and I might as well, since the video can help everybody out. So the first step would be to remove your mouse feet, as always, to get to the screws. If you plan on reusing them, I suggest using something like a hairdryer to heat them up a little bit, get the adhesive soft before you remove them. If you have new ones ready to go on, just go ahead and pull them off, clean it up with a little rubbing alcohol after, and reapply the new ones when you're done. So I'll fast forward through this. The feet on this mouse come off pretty easy, so you don't need to go crazy with the heat, and you also don't want to stay in one place for too long. Because you don't want to risk warping or burning anything, although you shouldn't have a problem with that. And as you can see, that was only 20 seconds of heating them up. Now let's go for the bottom ones. Fast forward. If you plan on reusing your feet, try to keep them as straight as possible. And touch the adhesive as little as possible. Okay, next step is to remove your 4 screws. They're a little bit different on this mouse. These are not Phillips head screws. These are Torx 6. So you can either order one on Amazon, run to your hardware store and grab one. In my case, I just filed down a flathead screwdriver a little bit. I'll try and get a close-up of that, which I will not be able to do due to my horrible setup here. Yep, I have no idea. Okay, that's as good as I can do. Pretty much just filed down the head until it was nice and tight in there. You want to keep pressure so you don't strip anything if you're doing it this way. Otherwise, just grab yourself a T6 Torx and have at it. Fast forward. Okay, with those 4 out, you're ready to open up the mouse. This is the part that I think people are intimidated by, and it's really not that bad. If this is the first time opening the mouse, you're going to have the stock cable in there. It'll be a little bit harder than you're going to see to open, but it won't be that much harder. You can use the cable to pry up here, and it'll pop open as you're going to see now. Base plate separates here. I'll try to angle it so that you can see the best way. So pretty much you want to open up from where your pinky rests, the right side, and you want to open up towards your thumb buttons, because once we get in here, you'll see you want to open up like a clamshell kind of. You'll see that I'm trying to get a good angle. There is that braided cable there, that ribbon that goes to the side buttons and the scroll wheel, and it's soldered to the board. Most people say that it's pretty easy to break. I haven't had that problem yet. What I like to do is reach in to get yourself a little more room. You totally could do it like this and just kind of pry like that, but just to be safe, you can reach in, grab the ribbon, and then help it unfold. That pretty much just helps relieve the stress from the ribbon and the solder while you open it up and give yourself room to work. If you know how to solder, you don't have anything to worry about, because if you break it, you can always just resolder to the board. But let's get working. The routing of the cable is pretty straightforward. It comes in from the front here, routes around, and goes under the board a little bit here. So what I like to do with this mouse, and I'll show you a little more in depth, is come around and then from here on have bare wire running. Okay, so from here we're going to remove our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 screws on the baseboard. First thing you should do is remove your cable, your old cable though. And we'll get cracking. Fast forward. Okay, once those are loose, you can lift the board and the shell will come with it. So you can just leave that right over there. This gives us a clear shot of the routing for the power cable. Let's take a quick look up here. So it's a little tight, as you can see, but it does work good. This was before I was crimping my own cables. I was just experimenting a little bit. But these are somewhat thicker innards, and they still work. So you should have no problem with something thinner. With the top half of the shell and the PCB removed, we're left with only the base plate. The RGB diffuser's down here. People remove that for a little bit of weight reduction. I personally enjoy heavy mice. They don't bother me whatsoever, so I won't be doing that, and I like the effect it gives off. Try to get a close-up here of the routing. The good thing about this mouse is that you actually have an easier job here. It doesn't require any kind of stress relief at the entry point. The stock cable also doesn't have stress relief, and the tight bends definitely make it so that you're not going to have to worry about stress relief, and the clamping force of the top shell and the bottom shell are more than enough. So as you can see here, I have bare cables running underneath the PCB, and they end right about here at this ridge. So I'm going to do the exact same thing with the new power cord, and you'll watch me install that, and we'll get the mouse back together. I am back with a new power cable. Good to go. I'm gonna walk you through how I would do this if I was doing it just alone. Pretty much, here's your base plate, and this is what you're gonna be looking at in terms of routing. So, I'll try to get an angle where you can see. Comes in here, hits this angle here, comes up and around this screw hole, comes down the side here into this corner, and right about here is where I'm gonna end the actual sheathing for the cable, and just have bare wire running down here and up to the board, just because this goes underneath and I'd rather not risk the height adjustment from having the whole cable underneath. So another thing I wanted to go over is, if you buy a cable from me or any of the other manufacturers, you're probably going to end up getting it like this, with about an inch or two showing from the sheathing of bare wire. In this case, we need more, because if I was to run it how I want to, I'd be stuck with this, when in reality I need. So pretty much these are flexible. These sheathings are flexible. So if I was to grab here and hold force here and pull down, I can sneak some out, right? And a lot of people do that, and you could do that. That's exactly how it should be done. But right here is where you have a problem. See, if you don't finish smoothing it out, you're gonna have this hard bunched up lump, and it makes perfect sense because you just stretched it out to reveal more wire. If I let go, it'll pop back up a good amount. But considering we need about that much, what you want to do is hold it right where you pulled it down, the actual sheathing, and just wring it out a little bit. You don't want it tight. You don't want to hold it tight and pull. You kind of want to just run your finger over it, because you want to get the sheathing in a space where it's not fully compressed and not fully stretched. You want it right in the middle there. So not here. Sorry. Not here. Not here. But right in here. And the way I like to do that is, after I pull down, I just kind of work it through, not hard. Just run it along your fingers. And if you need more as we go, which we'll find out, I'll do the same exact thing. And if you want to really work it out, you can work it further down into the wire just to make sure everything's even and nice and loose. But obviously, if you're using a bungee, which most people are, you really only care about the first couple of feet being nice and weight free. Okay, let's get going. So I'm gonna grab my base plate here, and I'm going to hold the paracord sheathing up to right where I want it to stop and see what I'm working with. So against the base plate, I mean, when the PCB's in, your connector is going to be right around here, but you still want that room to come up and curl over into it. So we're going to need a little more than this. So pull down, pull out, hold, work it through as far as you really want to go. And this can always be changed later. This can always be changed later by just doing it in reverse. If you want to hold here, stroke through, it's important that you keep it nice and loose. So we have plenty of wire to work with here. Let's take a quick look. That's going to be plenty. We're holding it again right where we want it to end and where we want to come up, so that'll be fine. Next step, just a quick little addition to the video that I forgot to add. Here's the mouse from the video, here's the cable. Before paracording your Intellipros, you're going to want to get your hands on a ferrite bead. Pretty much it's just an extra layer of protection against electromagnetic interference from other USB connections or like electronics in the area. The Intellimouse Pros are a little sensitive to that, and it's the only mouse I know that really calls for this, or that has shown side effects without using this during a paracord mod. But just to be on the safe side, throw it in. People have reported the mouse acting funny or breaking itself, so I've always made sure to throw one on. You throw it on about, here's the end of the cable, you throw it on about 2 to 3 inches from the end. You can get these on Amazon for dirt cheap in like packs of 6 or 7, or old Zowie mice have them. The old Zowie rubber cables came with them, so you can just clip them right off their clip-on and slap them on your cable. But don't use the Intellipro after paracording it without, just in case. Usually it's people who have tons of USB devices plugged into their computer that this happens with, but just in case. The portion that is going to go into the mouse, which at this moment seems to be about this much, we want that to be tight. Despite what I just said about you not wanting it to be fully tight due to flexibility, we need all the room we can get in here. So let's take the first maybe inch or 2.5, and just make that nice and tight. Give us as low a profile as we can get. Yeah, it'll be tight, but it doesn't matter because we're just running it inside. So we can actually work backwards here. I'll start by putting the end of the sheathing here against this wall, and then just working it in. I know it's hard to see. And then just working it into the corners around the original route. Remember, you want to just keep it as, and I'll show you right after I'm done. I want to keep it as tight as possible. I'm so sorry, I'm not used to doing this. Okay, so that's what it looks like so far. And you want to keep it as tight as possible as we get it around the route. So far we have it routed around the screw hole and stopped where you want it. And the next step is to keep it tight again. Run it into this little path here. Into the path and out of the mouse. You just want to make sure you're following the stock path of the wire, because it's pretty laid out for you. And make sure when you're hitting that point of stress relief on the entrance, you have it as tight as you can. You can use a little screwdriver to press it in as much as you can. I'm so sorry I'm not doing this on camera. Let me show you what I'm doing. Pretty much just going like this, pressing it into all the right spots, making sure we're nice and tight in there, making sure that it's tight at the point of exit because we don't want it being held open. By the cable. That's it. We're pretty much set. That's how you want it routed. Around the screw hole, out of the path here, and then we can just lay it down and work with the board, getting it in. The bare wires are going to come around here. Just you can follow the path of the original wire and be tucked right down here. The flatter, the better. But as long as it doesn't hold the PCB up higher than it needs to be, you're perfectly fine. Now we're set to move in the, just a demonstration as to how not delicate this is. You can really drop it into place using the shell, or just hold the wire and move it in. You will know when it's in the right spot. This board fits a particular way. I left all the screws in there. You might not want to do it that way, but I do. And we're set up right now. So pretty much now it's just tightening these guys down. I'm just snugging them. You should feel it kind of snap or fall into place. You don't want to tighten these down too much. If you've taken apart a mouse before, you know it's not really necessary. I'll just go over them. Make sure everything's bottomed out, but not over tightened. Okay. Our paracord is still sticking out of the front. Our connector is here and ready to be plugged in. We have given ourselves enough slack, so this should be pretty simple, straightforward, just like every other mouse. Just be careful, don't apply too much force. You'll know when it's in, which it is. This particular mouse doesn't have too much of a snap to it when you click it in, but we're in. You can kind of shove the wires down there as best you can. It's not that big a deal. It's not going to get in the way of anything. We're fine like this. Then the only next step is to make sure that we push in our cable here along the edge enough and make sure that we're still routed properly along the path and sticking out of the stress relief point, the opening, properly. The next part is extremely easy and satisfying. You're just going to reverse clamshell it and close down. At this point, it should be a total success. As long as you don't have any excessive resistance and it closes up nice and flush like it did, you're pretty much good to go. Let's get those screws back in. If you're using a hacked flathead like I am, make sure you put enough pressure downward so that you don't strip your screw. Wouldn't be the end of the world, but it's something you don't want to deal with. These don't take too much tightening. For the most part though, these mice are pretty good. You can just tighten it down until it bottoms out. As long as you don't go crazy on it, you're good to go. That's it. We're done. Let's test our clicks. Good. All right, the mouse came out good, guys. Clicks feel solid. No issues with them. Perfect. If you have any questions or anything like that, feel free to comment, or you can shoot me a message on Reddit. I'll include my username in the video info. Hopefully you don't run into any issues, but if you do run into any issues, at least now you know how to take it apart and make sure everything's routed correctly. Thanks a lot for watching. Twins!